Obviously we've gone through this change now from, very slow film stock, very heavy cameras, very slow lenses, to the opposite, to very fast film stock, to very fast lenses, to very lightweight cameras. And then now, of course, we're in the digital era. That people think you don't need anybody. You don't need, a certain size of camera crew, or you don't need this, and you don't need that, because everything's so easy. And up to a point that's true. But when you're trying to craft something, if you just take a digital format camera, you can basically point it anywhere and shoot something, and you'll get something from it. But will it be of any? What would the quality be? So the very fact that you've got a digital camera, it doesn't mean you should work in a comfort zone of, we'll point it over there and it'll be great, and if it's not, we'll do something at the end. So you still have to work on it pretty much in the same way that you always worked about getting images, and that's to get the best images, to try to capture the best images you can on whatever format. I had a very successful career at this stage as a commercial DOP, and a very nice life, and it was, I was probably working in a bit of a comfort zone, and I knew if I went back to work for Kubrick again, I would have to get back into that 24-hour day being available, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that. I wasn't sure if I wanted to give that up, which he found really odd that I even considered not doing it. I started with him on Barry Lyndon, and I didn't know him. I mean, I was just asked to work on it, and just for a week, and we were preparing sets, and then slowly I got to know him. In the beginning, he never used to speak to me personally. He knew who I was. He knew everybody, but he didn't need to speak to me in actual fact. So he didn't speak to me. And then there was a situation I got kind of thrust into, where he had to communicate with me, and that was the kind of the beginning of a kind of a bonding relationship that was then to last for 27 years or so. So he trusted me, and I spend a lot of time with him talking about films and how the next film might be, etc., etc. Did you know this new film stock come out? Have you seen this? All those kind of conversations, and that took me through to The Shining, and then that was 13 years. I'd worked with him, very intense, 13 years, and I needed to do something else. Then I needed to get away from that intense kind of working relationship. I hadn't spoken to him for about 9 years, and he called me up and said, can we come in the car with me? And we went up to see a big exterior of a house, which was a house we were going to use for one of the scenes in Eyes Wide Shut, which we didn't use in the end. And we just talked about that, and then I went home, and then he called me up and he said, would you like to do this film with me? A lot of people find that quite a staggering story, but if you knew him the way I knew him, I was a little surprised, but I wasn't surprised at the same time. I always had this feeling that he had that kind of, maybe that trust in me, that I could go on to do this, and because he liked me and we got on well, he knew what I'd been doing, and he'd seen my stuff. It turned out I didn't know that he'd been seeing it. So and that was the beginning of Eyes Wide Shut for me.